Good day, everyone. I hope your day is a nice one. Right now, we've just come out of the big storm damage that inflicted itself upon us a few days ago, and a lot of water damage can be seen around the area where I live. So it's not been a fun time. Fortunately, the weather changed a little bit now, so we're not going to have such bad rain as we've had before. But I don't give you a weather report. You don't want to listen to that. Right, imagine now when you're between the ages of 13 to say 25 and you're asked to role play an older person and you base your characterization on perhaps your grandparents or maybe an old person dodging around the local neighborhood and while you're playing that particular person, be it a he or a she, I suspect that they probably wondered what it actually feels like to be old and act the way you do, physically frail, going senile, and having all the ailments an old person would suffer from. Now, looking at the model and realizing how old I am, I realize that I've just reached that age where I would have role played back in the past. And it's kind of a very striking thing. Well, once I was very young, now I'm not so young anymore. And I can picture myself back in the day trying to role play. Well, if I was playing this model now, I wouldn't have to role play at all. I'd just simply be myself, since I'm already old and I don't have to pretend anymore. But having said that, this model, the Ravager of Time, allows you to role play an old person, and how that happens I will come to in a short while. Basically, the plot line is that there's a woman called Nuala who gets married to this magic user, Regulo, and she learns from him the use of magic. And while she lives in this place with a friend called Fanar, she gets a little bit sort of restless, as it were. So when she starts learning magic, she wants to learn more and more powerful magic and become a strength in the area. And she finds a ritual which she starts incanting. And her husband, a bit of an old fellow now, because the swamp does that to people, mostly the friend does that to people. He discovers what she does and he strikes her down. And apparently the two of them die. So the servants bury the body and all the books that were there get scattered because they're burnt and they sort of leave the place there and then. Unfortunately, another person called Miles Darcy discovers the knowledge of the whereabouts of Nawala and determines to bring her back to life so he can learn all the information that he can and all the knowledge that she has. And of course, he's a little bit in love with her as well. So he doesn't think things through, brings her back to life, and it turns out that she's a very, very thoroughly wicked person indeed. And the actual resurrection also completes the ritual and gives her power. And the power is that she can age people simply by draining them from their body or creating duplicates of the people and using them for her own nefarious ends. But in so doing so, bringing the duplicates in, the duplicates start draining the originals of their strength and also age them prematurely as well. So with the plans that she has, she wants to take over the swamp and the fenlands. And in order to do that, she decides to send this Miles out there and murder people. Excuse me, I got a bit of a cold coming. Murder people, and in so doing, she hopes that Charlie gets a duplicate of Miles out, and she gets him to kill old Lord called Joffrey. And in doing so, Miles is put on trial. But the end, the end of the means is that she brings the NPCs, the playing characters into it. The playing characters are what she needs in order to duplicate them and send them out to do her will, bring in certain allies from the friends and take over, as you do when you're a world domineering, world conquering villain. So the party is invited to the trial. How you can do that is up to the dungeon master, but there are several hooks that they bring into the model, hiring them straight away, coercing them, or family ties. So once you get to the court and in the fens, which are described as being a bleak, dismal place with very surly and unattractive natives who won't help whatsoever, they get to the court. They find the person on trial, and there's ways and means of trying to find the innocence of this person. So they have to go forth and find out. So they go and investigate the trial, investigate the fens and the area, and what's going on there. And on the way, then they meet Nevada, who actually creates the duplicates of them and aged them prematurely. These duplicates are sent then to do his nefarious business, and the playing characters, who are now aged well beyond their years, have to try and find some way of defeating these duplicates and therefore regaining their youth. And that, in a nutshell, is the story. And once the characters are aged, they're given guidance like central page pullers of what to do to their characters in order to pick the old. And of course, they also have the setbacks the characters will suffer in terms of hit points and health and um, the stats. They got like strength will go down, the wisdom might go up, the intelligence might go down because they're senile and whatnot. And you have to refer to page 13 of the Dungeon Master Guide, which has stats and what happens when the stats change as you get older. So those will be used in conjunction with the handouts. And that's basically in a nutshell is the model itself. Now, my thoughts on the model is again with the UK, it's a consistently high quality model. It's not because I'm British and I would say it anyway. It's true. These models were produced by the UK team back in the day are far better than a lot of the USA models. I don't know why that is, but I generally find that to be a very consistent thing. Compare this one with the other models and it stands up very, very, very well. In fact, I think it outshines a lot of the models of the I series itself. There's a massive, massive amount of role playing here because you get to meet the characters, the fans, you get to meet the court, you actually interact with the villainess, and she's not exactly the most one-dimensional villain. She has a kind of character, an ambitious, ruthless one to be sure, but there's enough background given in the model for the Dungeon Master to role play her quite well, and also enough meat that the characters, playing characters, can actually get their hands on to be able to interact with the villainess. And she brings a court with her as well, of a sort that the playing characters can interact with. So not only do they interact with all of that, they will interact with the people of the fen, trying to get them to talk to them and so on and so forth. The court itself, as I just said, there's a few characters and they're given stats on quite a few of them, so you're not going to be lost in as a dungeon master into introducing them with these various characters and seeking character hooks, if you like, to be able to role play them. So yes, there's a huge feast of role playing on offer here, and especially when you're actually trying to play an old person itself as well, and interacting with the people you just met as a young person, and then trying to persuade them that it's really you as an old person. So there's a lot you can do in this particular model. Now the artwork in the model is fantastic. I got to say that the front cover of the model itself, excuse me, um, it's done by Jeff Anderson, and of course it doesn't really give an idea of what goes on inside the model. Very few Dungeons and Dragons models did, but I would suppose that this one is Nevada trying to do the ritual that gives her power just before the husband comes in and gives the smackdown, and they both get killed. So, but it's a very evocative, very good, bright coloured model cover, which I really, really like. I think it's probably the best of the covers in the whole of the TSR range back in the day. Um, that's really it, really. And the other thing I will say is the Fens itself. It's a very large place, probably a little bit too large for most model purposes, but you can put other models in there, which is of a similar setting. Housing Knight from the Ravenloft line comes to mind. You can fit that quite neatly into this particular place, and it will work as well. And there probably are other models out there in the fens or maybe a little bit of swampland, which you can put into the place itself. After all, there's enough space here in this model to actually do it. I mean, I'm talking 1, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60 miles from one end to the other by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 miles. So 60 to 40 miles is quite a lot of surface area that could be covered by, oh, I don't know, maybe a dozen models. So in a nutshell, it's one of the really good models. The only problem with it is it's not a very playable value, in so much that, a replayable value. You play it once, and once the storyline is done, then you can't really go back to it because if you have any familiarity with it as a playing character or as a player himself or herself, they're not going to be too surprised by what happens next. The other thing I would also go and say is that the monsters in the random encounters areas are logical. They actually do run into the kind of ecology of the place. You don't get rust monsters, for example, running around the place and mummies and so on and so forth. Yes, there are some zombies, and yes, the big sweet dragon gets a head in there, but that dragon is actually one of the assistants of Nirvana, which she brings him in as help. So the playing characters have to fight the uh, the main character, the main villainess, and also fight her cohorts, one of which happens to be a dragon, another one happens to be a green hag. And finally, the last note I'll give in terms of playing in this is the fact that the player characters have to defeat their own duplicates in order to be able to get regenerate back to their youth again. Problem with them is that the duplicates are tougher in a lot of respects than the playing characters, purely simply because they're younger and the playing characters have lost quite a few abilities along the way. So the playing characters will have to approach this with a lot more cleverness than they normally do. They can't just simply go hack and slash and bash their way to the front and hope for the best. They have to use their brains in order to beat the duplicates. So that can lead to quite a few interesting problems for them to try and solve. So, yes, this model is, as far as I'm concerned, excellent. It's got everything you want. A nice little sandbox in the same shape of the fence. A lot of role playing going on there. And there's a lot of nice hack and slash too for those players who want that sort of thing. Overall, I would give this model a 5 out of 5 for the quality, the adventure, and the role playing opportunities offered. And I think whoever plays this, both Dungeon Master and playing characters, are going to have an absolute whale of a time. And they will thoroughly enjoy this. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you're having a nice day and rock on.